Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nastapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So I'll say verse 38, which has a short purport, and we'll chant together verse 39. Satat Pum Svana Rajni Prasya Vai Pratyur Adade Garbam Kala Upavrite Kumaram Shushuve Praja. Although the queen had no son, after eating that food, which had the power to produce a male child, she became pregnant by her husband, and in due course of time she gave birth to a son. Purport. Among the 10 kinds of purificatory processes, one is Pum Savanam, in which the wife is offered some prasad or remnants of foodstuff offered to Lord Vishnu, so that after sexual intercourse with her husband, she may conceive a child. Text 39. We'll say responsively. Sa Bala Eva Purusho Maham Anuvrita Adharmam So Bhavam Mrityum Tena Bhavad Adharmika Sabala Eva Purusho Timing is incorrect. If they interrupt, it should be like before or after. Matamaham. We already did that. Tena Bhavad. Adharmikai. Sabala Eva Purusho. Mata Maham Anuvrita. Adharmam Subhavam Mrityum. Tena Bhavad Adharmika. Sabala Eva Purusho. Matmaham Anuvrita. Adharmam So Bhavam Mrityum. Tena Bhavad Adharmika. Sabala Eva Purusho. Matamaham Anuvrita. Adharmam So Bhavam Mrityum. Tena Bhavad Adharmika. Please repeat. please. Sabala eva purusho. Saw that Bala, child, Eva, certainly, Purusha, male, Mata Maham, maternal grandfather, Anuvrita, a follower of, Adharma, of irreligion. Could this light over here be put on? I'm having trouble seeing. The front lights. No one knows how to do that? A follower of irreligion. Amsa, from a portion. Udbhavam, who appeared. Mrityum, death. Tena, by this. Abhavat, he became. Adharmika, irreligious. I believe this is Maitreya continuing to tell the story of King Vena to Vidura. That boy was partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. Please repeat. That boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. Purport by His Divine Grace, ISKCON's BBT founder, Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The child's mother, Sunita, was the daughter of death personified. Generally, the daughter receives the qualifications of her father, and the son acquires those of the mother. So according to the axiomatic truth that things equal to the same thing are equal to one another, the child born of King Anga became the follower of his maternal grandfather. According to Smriti Shastra, a child generally follows the principles of his parental uncle's house. Narnam Matula Karma means that a child generally follows the qualities of his maternal family. If the maternal family is very corrupt or sinful, the child, even though born of a good father, becomes a victim of the maternal family. According to Vedic civilization, therefore, before the marriage takes place, an account is taken of both the boys' and girls' families. If, according to astrological calculations, the combination is perfect, then marriage takes place. Sometimes, however, there is a mistake and family life becomes frustrating. It appears that King Anga did not get a very good wife in Sunita because she was the daughter of death personified. Sometimes the Lord arranges an unfortunate wife for his devotee so that gradually, due to family circumstances, the devotee becomes detached from his wife and home and makes progress in devotional life. It appears that by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Anga, although a pious devotee, got an unfortunate wife like Sunita and later on a bad child like Vena. But the result was that he got complete freedom from the entanglement of family life and left home to go back to Godhead. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Dam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Dibyad Brindaranya Kalpajumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastalabhi Savior Manos Marami. In a temple of jewels underneath the desired trees of Vrindavan, seated upon an effulgent throne are the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates. We beg to offer our respectful obeisances unto them. Hare Krishna. Sabala eva purusho, atamaham anuvrita, adharmam so bhavam rityum, tena bhavad adharmika. That boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. As he grew up as his follower, and the boy grew up as his follower, he became a greatly irreligious person. The material world is a very complicated place for so many reasons. When we look at the relationships with the pure devotees have with Krishna, eternal relationships that they are associated together based on shared similar moods, motivations, intentions, and that they have very deep, respectful friendships with each other. The harmony and the based on the comfort of knowing that such relationships are fully trustworthy and loyal, allow for that sangha or association to be based on very open-hearted, loving dealings. In the material world, it's practically the opposite. There's some calculation, mutually back and forth. There's politics and diplomacy. There's one description of family life in the Bhagavatam. Perhaps it's the forest of material enjoyment in the 5th canto, always spreading lies based on politics and diplomacy. People change. Those who you thought were loyal later turned out to be very much self-motivated, and their so-called friendship was just simply a period when they were able, by calculation, to utilize whatever assets or favorable things that you might have, reputation, etc., to further their own good or to feather their own nest, as the saying would go. So here is being described a very important function in the lives of most people in this material world, getting married and having children. Physically, it is apparent the child born, if it is a boy, will take the qualities of the maternal, the mother's side of the family. Oh, your son looks just like you. Or the daughter takes the qualities and physical appearance of the father's side of the family. But here it's described that even though Sunita was a good person, because her father was death personified. If anyone has any knowledge of who is death personified and how could he possibly have children, who, in this case, Sunita, is becoming the married queen of the great king Anga, descendant of Dhruva Maharaj. You say, okay, he's the son or daughter of death personified. It's like, does it look like a Yamaduta or look like just some monster or something? You know, what would the offspring of one of these terrible, scary-shaped demons look like? So anyway, that filtered down and ultimately entered was the quality of King Vena. But King Vena was, as we will hear in the next verses, very cruel. Not to steal the thunder of the next classes, but here we go, here's a little sampling. After fixing his bow and arrow, the cruel boy used to go to the forest and unnecessarily kill innocent deer. As soon as he came, all the people would cry, "Here comes cruel Vena, here comes cruel Vena." The boy was so cruel that while playing with young boys of his age, he would kill them mercilessly, as if they were animals meant for slaughter. So you send your 5, 6, 7-year-old child to play with his contemporary playmates. Or maybe one bullies the others and picks fights with wrestle to the ground or do some type of mischief. But to kill them? We even see incidents these days in Kali Yuga where, even amongst children or brothers even, that the older brother shoots the younger brother for no reason. After seeing the cruel and merciless behavior of his son, Vena, King Anga punished him in different ways to reform him, but was unable to bring him to the path of gentleness. He thus became greatly aggrieved. And then the king is thinking to himself, expressing what a horrible situation this is. The king thought to himself, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son. So people enter into family life hoping that, or desiring, or even expecting that everything will be very nice. I'll have very nice children. They'll be loyal to me. They will follow my way of living. In other words, they will be devotees. But nothing is certain. With the best intentions, doing your very best for so many years, the free will of the individual. So it's a material identification ultimately is illusory. And that which binds us together with material affection is not certain. It's certainly temporary. A sinful son causes a person's reputation to vanish. His irreligious activities at home cause irreligion and quarrel among everyone, and this creates only endless anxiety. Who, if he is considerate and intelligent, would desire such a worthless son? Such a son is nothing but a bond of illusion for the living entity, and he makes one's home miserable. Then the king thought, a bad son is better than a good son, because a good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very detached. So that's what the conclusion of today's purport is, that in the material world, when bad things happen, frustrating situations, for a devotee especially, ultimately this leads to detachment from the material conception of life, material affection, and puts one in a proper position to, which is the first and most important qualification for a human being, is to question, why do I have to suffer like this? Who am I? Why? I am the father of this cruel Vena? I must have a different identity than this, a different association, a different way of life. We can look at our own selves when we're making the decision to enter into devotional life, leaving aside the frustrating material life, the unsatisfactory status quo that gave us little to no happiness at all. There was a satisfactory level of frustration with material life, the answers that so-called material knowledge and what everybody else, the status quo, is saying. I remember the Prabhupada memory of His Grace Guru Gauranga, and he was saying as he was growing up, or as a young man He had a good life materially. He was always being encouraged by his elders. You get ahead, you're going to do good. You just have to do this, accomplish this, and everything is going to be very nice. And Guru Gauranga is saying, I did that, and then when I would get to that point that I was told everything's going to be great, I still felt unhappy and frustrated. And then those same advisors say, well, actually, you got to go to the next level. You got to go to the next tier. And then he did that, and still not happy. That is material life. It's like going after a mirage. A mirage in the desert. It's in the distance. It looks very nice, so let me try to get there. But it always seems to, however many hundreds of yards, quarter of a mile, just always. And sometimes it just vanishes altogether. It appears that King Anga did not get a very good wife in Sunita because she was the daughter of death personified. Sometimes the Lord arranges an unfortunate wife for his devotee so that gradually, due to family circumstances, the devotee becomes detached from his wife and home and makes progress in devotional life. So it's described that attachment to the opposite gender is the basic principle of material life. And when there is children, that attachment becomes very, 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 very strong. Practically, one is unable to get out and to renounce unless one is helped by the personality of God, either directly or through his empowered devotees, as we see in the case of Vidura, helping Dhritarashtra to renounce his false attachments. And he was in a very precarious position at the very end of his life, and everything was taken away from him, all of his sons. Why is he living in the house of Maharaj Yudhishthira? Because he didn't have his own place to stay and his own people to take care of him. People that the Pandavas, Maharaj Yudhishthira, persecuting them, trying to kill them. Now he's taking the charity of Maharaj Yudhishthira. It shows the greatness of Maharaj Yudhishthira. If someone tried to kill us repeatedly and did so much treachery upon us, would we be hosting them as a guest of honor in our house? And not just for a few days or a week, but Maharaj, this was his retirement home. So therefore it is highly advised, if one can, to not enter into family life and maintain the ashram of detachment, brahmachari, and possibly, for those who are qualified, sannyas, thereby saving one from the risk or even likelihood of so much anxiety and trouble. The result was that he got complete freedom from the entanglement of family life and left home to go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. The verse once again. Sabala eva purusho matmaham anuvrita adharmam sabhavam rityum tena bhavad adharmika. The boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person. Any questions or comments? And again, my question, does anyone have any information of death personified. Microphone. Microphone means primarily those online can hear? Right. Can't hear anything.
I looked up the phrase death personified in the database, and it's used to describe not any particular person, but different people. Among the demons, that phrase is used to describe are Kamsa and Aghasura. So maybe... Of course, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he's death personified and also immortality, but this person obviously isn't Krishna-like, but... So I would say somebody on the same
I think this would be
consciousness as Aghasura and Kamsa.
All right, she's the daughter of death personified. So a daughter with the father, grows up, and the father, so it's more than just a concept or a... What would be a good word to describe death personified? You don't think of a person, you think of a catastrophe, or archetypal, microphone volley. You need a runner, in this big room,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The chapter is the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. So we know what happened at the end of Dhruva's pastime.
He stepped on the head of death.
Death personified.
Okay.
So everything is personified. Everything is personified. We may not have an accurate description, but everything is personified. We know even the river Yamuna is personified.
What did you say?
Lord Balaram chastised the river Yamuna. It personified. When we go to the Yamuna, we take a boat across. We're not necessarily seeing Kalindi. So everything is personified. The rivers, the earth itself, the whole universe, personification is there. And that's why this impersonal idea is actually completely bogus. Just like voidism.
I'm sorry, what is...
Impersonalism is ultimately bogus.
Okay.
Because there's personality everywhere. Just like voidism, completely bogus. You can't get something out of nothing. So similarly, personality cannot arise out of impersonal manifestation. There's personality everywhere. We are persons. The personality of God, it is present in between and in every atom. There's personality throughout everything. We just don't perceive it.
That's very nice. Thank you. Anything else? Chatamai?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for the class.
Hare Krishna.
Such a interesting circumstance for King Anga to regain full connection with the divine, for him to have to go through that ordeal. And he had so much invested in manifesting a son, not knowing that the son, it could be good, it could be not so good. This just brings to mind how each of us has an arrangement. It's whatever we need to come back to full yoga with Krishna. Sometimes we get a family that is supporting us and supports our sadhana and allies, but other times the family is completely against, and whatever we get is what we need. It's so colorful, so many different ways that Krishna creates the circumstances. it's fascinating. That's my comment.
Yes. Krishna Kripa.
There's one devotee, Nirguna Prabhu, who's
Nirguna.
yeah, his wife dumped him after like 20 years of marriage, and he was so traumatized. He got cancer, and he ended up leaving his body in Mayapur in a very exalted devotional consciousness. So he actually had a happy ending from a miserable experience.
And it's not to be said that such things are required to go back to Godhead, to have a bad marriage, bad children, and just have like complete anxiety for some. It's also possible to have a good marriage and good children and also go back home, back to Godhead. But the becoming attached to the good situation is a risk and perhaps a likelihood. I believe His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj was inspired and felt the need to write a book called The Forgotten Ashram? I remember maybe in the some years ago he mentioned Vanaprastha. You know, it's an ashram that we perhaps not so much practiced or popular. So we pray to Radha Govinda that we can ultimately become qualified one day, hopefully the sooner the better, to be fit to be part of their eternal family association. Free from all of the fluctuations and sufferings of this material world. And all of this has been brought to us so kindly and mercifully by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, who is present with us beyond time and space. He did not pass away on November 14th, 1977. He lives forever in his teachings and in his International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The association, we call it the ISKCON movement, based on the forward thrust of the preaching, the desire of Lord Chaitanya to inundate the entire world with Krishna Prema, love of Godhead. But we see in previous generations of devotees, I believe it was Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he created a society of devotees. I believe there was even a opening day, called it the Vishva Vaishnav Sabharaj, which means the universal, meaning not just here on this planet, but all over the universe, association of the king of the topmost relishers, the Rasik Vaishnavas, who are very much attached and attracted and live within the mellow of Krishna Rasa, Kirtan Rasa. So that is in essence the association of devotees created by pure devotees. And Srila Prabhupada is such an empowered personality, unmatched, unrivaled. It's just like if there's a big giant jungle and everyone thinks it's impenetrable, and one heroic personality comes, I will clear a path through this jungle and will go through it and get the gold. And clears the path, and then they maintain it. That's what Prabhupada said. If you can increase, just maintain what I've given you. Don't let the golden road to unlimited devotion become, overgrown with weeds, and if the road cracks, then you bring in and you repair it, potholes. So everyone who comes afterwards, no matter how much they're a great adventurer, frontiersman, explorer, because they're going through that path, they all must pay homage to the original, clear creator of that path that makes us easy to go through. So Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Prabhupada even encouraged devotees, if you see problems or there's some difficulties, there's that English maxim, England with all thy faults, I love thee. And despite anything or everything, that if you're in that consciousness of understanding what Prabhupada's creation of the Society of the Devotees actually is and means, you'll never be shaken and think that you have to go elsewhere to seek the so-called higher taste. Prabhupada, in his books, and I believe it's coming in the section describing the glories of Maharaj Prithu, which will be the good, so that not only that this King Vena and his atrocities led to King Anga being able to renounce his home and go back home, back to Godhead, is that ultimately Maharaj Prithu came from this disaster, become one of the most exemplary rulers of the earth. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Jai. Gaura Bhakta Brinda devotees